Good morning, everybody. I just wanted to jump on quick and tell you a little bit about the month 2 kit for the Cozy Christmas Stitch Along. By now you all should have gotten your month 2 kit in the mail, or you can stop in and pick it up. And it looks like this, so hopefully everyone's got it now. And just a couple of things about it that are kind of just helpful tips and things. There's nothing too difficult. I know a lot of you have already made the blocks, which is fantastic. And thank you for sharing those. I love seeing your completed blocks. But when you get this month's kit, one of the first things you'll notice is there's a little note in it about the mistake that was made last month in the cutting. And I'm so sorry, we didn't have enough of the Stars and Moon fabric in there for you. Unless you cut super duper careful, there just wasn't quite enough, and that is my mistake. I apologize, but we're giving you a little bit of that extra this month with a note explaining that. So take this out, use it to finish your month 1 kit. If you haven't done your month 1 kit yet, take this out and put it with your month 1 kit now so that it's there when you get to it. So that's the first thing you're gonna see. The second thing you'll notice is that you are getting a big piece of this applique background fabric. This is what you used for your applique background last month, and it's what we're gonna use for the background of all the applique blocks. And this month we went ahead and gave you enough to cut the backgrounds for all of the applique blocks. And that's in the directions. The directions are gonna tell you to cut 6 7 by 13 inch rectangles. And then you're gonna use one of those this month. The other 5 you're gonna set aside somewhere safe so you don't lose them, because you're gonna need them for the future months. And remember, these are gonna get trimmed down at the end too. So you're cutting them 7 by 13 now, but don't worry, they're gonna get trimmed to 6.5 by 12.5 once you're done with all of your stitching. So that's why you have a nice large piece of this, because you're gonna cut all of those and you won't be getting any more of this in future months. And then if you want, you can go ahead and do your applique block, and I'll just show it to you again. I know I've posted pictures, but here's Karen's cute little stocking block for this month. There's not a whole lot of fancy embellishing stitches. She did some chain stitch up there. I love how she did 2 rows of it. You can really, gives it kind of a cool look. But Karen will do some videos in the future on some of the embellishing stitches. So keep an eye out for those maybe in future months. But there's the applique block for this month. You're making just one of those. And then your pieced blocks this month look like this. And once again, you're making 2 of them. They're matching 2 of the same block. And it's just a cute little, I think I called it a Star of Wonder. So that is the block that you're making pieced this month. And this month I did use a couple of different Tucker rulers. If you know me, if you've done any block of the months or quilts with us in the past, you know I love my Studio 180 design Deb Tucker rulers. And they're rulers that are made so that you can make your units a little bit oversized and then trim them down so they end up super accurate. And that's just how I like to do things. None of the rulers are absolutely necessary. There are other rulers on the market. A lot of these units you can trim down with a regular ruler, but I'm gonna just show you the 2 rulers today that I used and explain why I like them. And then if you want to find them, they of course are on our website. So the first unit that you're making this month is that center unit is a square in a square. And you'll notice one thing I did there was I actually fussy cut this center so that it was centered just right, the way that I liked it. And I gave you enough fabric in your kit. Let's see, it looks like this. I gave you plenty of fabric. If you open this up and you're like, why is this so big when all I need to do is cut 2 little squares out of it? I gave you plenty so that if you wanted to fussy cut those pieces too, you've got plenty to do that. So go ahead and fussy cut those if you want. And then you're gonna make a square in a square unit. And to make the square in a square, it's a pretty common unit. I'm guessing most of you have probably done that before, and there's great directions in your pattern. But basically, you're gonna just sew 2 triangles on opposite sides, press them out. Then you're gonna sew the other 2 triangles on and press them out again. But this is the part where I made these triangles oversized. You can see that there's way more than 1/4 inch here. And I did that so that I can trim them down using my squared ruler. And the directions have you cutting those oversized. So if you're following the cutting directions and everything in the pattern, yours is also gonna look like this, and it's gonna need to be trimmed down. And for me, I find this unit is a hard unit to trim down if you don't specifically have a square and a square trim tool. And the one that I like is the Square Squared by Deb Tucker Studio 180 Designs, and it looks like this. It's kind of hard to see. I'll put that behind it. Here you go. So one side's got all of this information on it for you, which is nice that it's right on the ruler because you don't lose it. But if you had to do the math yourself and figure out what size to cut, that information's there. I gave you the cutting sizes in the pattern, so you won't need that. And then this side also tells you what size to cut for your center units. And then the other side, this is what we're going to be using today, is the side that you use for trimming those units down. So this is a 3-inch finished unit. So I'm going to be looking for the 3. And you can see under that 3, there are dotted lines that are going to fit right in my square. And I'm going to actually trim it here and show you what that looks like in just a minute. I'm going to rotate the camera here and then I'll show you how to trim. All right, so you can see now, here's my square and a square unit, and here is my ruler on top of it. And I'm looking for the number 3 because this is a 3-inch finished. And there are dashed lines. I don't know if you can see them real well on the camera, but there's dashed lines that sit in all the seams along the edge of my square. So I just line those all up. And then I'm gonna trim the first 2 sides. And you can see there's plenty to trim here, which is nice because you don't have to worry too much about getting those triangles perfectly centered because there's plenty of wiggle room. So here's what I'm trimming off. So then I'm gonna rotate the unit 180 degrees. And now there is a 3.5-inch box that the unit should sit in. And I should still have those dotted lines matching up with all of my seams in here. And now I will trim the other 2 sides. And voila, there is my perfect square and a square unit. I've got a 1/4 inch on all of those sides so that I'm not going to lose any points. The other unit that you're making this month is, I called it a combination unit, and it looks something like this. So what this is, and this is one that's not trimmed yet. So this is another one that I've made oversized, and I'm going to trim it down. And in the block, it is this unit right here. And I sewed 2 of them together to get this kind of look where you've got like it looks like a flying geese with a square in it, but it's actually just 2 combination units sewn together. So to make this unit, you start by making some half square triangles out of your cream and your green. So you're gonna make a few sets of those. Then you're gonna take that half square triangle and you're gonna layer it right sides together with a red square. And because these are oversized, this looks kind of funny. It's not, the sizes don't match, and that's okay. The red square is larger than the half square triangle. I'm just gonna center it on there, and then I'm gonna draw a diagonal line going opposite of the seam. All right, so it is perpendicular to that seam you've already sewn. Draw my diagonal line, sew a 1/4 inch on either side of that, and you can kind of see how that's gonna open up and create 2 of those combination units, which are, again, oversized. So once you've made those, then they also need to get trimmed down. And there are lots of different rulers for trimming 1/4 square triangle, half square triangles, combination units. But again, I'm a big Studio 180 Deb Tucker fan. So the ruler that I used is the Tucker trimmer. There are a few different Tucker trimmers available now. The Tucker Trimmer 1 works great for this. The Tucker Trimmer 3 is the same thing, but just much bigger. It also works great. This is the new pint-sized Tucker trimmer, and what it does is it does smaller sizes, and it does 1/2 inch, whole inch increments, 1/4 inch, and 3/4 inch increments. So I really like this one because it does all those sizes. It's just limiting that it only goes up to 3.5 inches. So this is going to work great for this project because nothing in this project is going to be much bigger than that. So I'm going to use this ruler to trim this down, and these guys get trimmed to 2 inches. So when you're looking at this ruler, there are circles on all 4 corners, and you're going to be looking for the one that's a whole circle because you are trimming it to a whole inch increment. All right, if we were going to trim to a 1/2 inch increment, we'd look for that one with the half circle. If we were doing 1/4 inch, that side has the 1/4 of a circle filled in, and then the 3/4 inch, of course, has the 3/4 filled in. So we're going to be using this side right now because I'm trimming it to 2 inches. And I'm going to lay my unit underneath there. And the thing I like about this ruler is there are going to be diagonal lines that match up with both of my seams. So as opposed to a regular ruler where you'd probably just have one diagonal line, I've got a diagonal line here, and I've also got one here, so it's gonna sit on that seam. So I lay that under there, and you can see that on the red side, I've got quite a bit to trim off. That feels a little bit funny, but again, it's just because we started with that red square extra large because it was that combination unit. So we're gonna trim the red side first. It really doesn't matter which one you do first, but this is just how I laid it out. So you're gonna trim, trim. Then I'm gonna rotate that unit 180 degrees. And again, I've got those diagonals going in both directions to line up with my seams. And this time, my unit's also gonna sit in that 2-inch box. On this ruler, the 2-inch is what you're trimming it to, so it's the trim size. We're trimming these to 2 inches. So it's gonna sit under there. My diagonals are matched up, and you can see there's not nearly as much to trim off on this side. So I trimmed those guys off. There's what I trimmed off. And there is my perfect little combination unit. So once you've got all of those units done, these just get sewn together in 2 pairs to make this fun little unit. And then your block will just go together in rows again. All right, so I think that's everything for this month. I hope you guys are having fun doing these, and we love seeing your progress, so continue to post that. We're also happy to answer questions right in the Facebook group, so if you have questions, feel free to drop them in there. And then of course you can always contact me at the shop, and I can also forward questions on to Karen if you have anything for her. So thanks so much, guys, and keep up the good work.